you're watching this on live, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, IG, and our community. I just wanted to say how much of you guys enjoyed the workshop last week about the confidence. Yes, something me and Doc can talk about really in depthly. But if you comment the word silent below, it should be able to send that PDF to you directly in your message. Let me know if it comes through because I was working on that this morning. But today's topic, guys, is going to be redefining the modern provider. Basically, we're taught that being a provider is slowly about being in the bank account. But what happens when the money fluctuates? And I can attest to this personal story of mine. And true provision is about being the foundational anchor for your family, safety, mental health, and moral direction. It's time to expand what providing actually means in the modern era. Doc, glad
Yes.
to have you on board. We've been busy this whole week. Give us what we're going to be
Man.
going over while I get us all set up technically.
All right. So we're going to be talking about today, gentlemen, about what it means to be a provider. And I know we say it in modern terms, but really it's the way it should have been
Right.
from the very beginning, right? But unfortunately, what we've seen nowadays is that provider means one thing and one thing only: can I pay all the bills? And if you can't pay all the bills, then you're not a provider. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be going to more really important when
Don't
it comes
tell
to
me we lost this
vision
connection. Oh, we
and
don't.
the things that matter the most, that cannot just benefit your life personally, but also the lives of those you're providing for.
No, absolutely. Because the a lot of the times people want to mistake the financial only trap, the
Yeah.
stress, identity crisis as a man and doing it. But things are changing because I can attest to my situation right now. But branching off of last week's workshop, right? The confidence
Mhm.
level and stuff like that. How does it affect mostly men in today's society? Because you can be the provider, protector, the moral compass for everything of your family. But what happens when things change? When things change, a lot happens emotionally, psychologically, what's expected.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you don't have good communication, that resentment, that disconnection can all
Yeah.
happen in really fast. And it's happened to me.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have the tools or the help from Doc doing this show over the past year and a half now, sometimes I think so I would have break. Honestly,
Yeah.
Doc, talk
Yeah.
about it.
So, we look at provision, right? And I think I don't even want to say historically, but I think what happens a lot of times is we look at provision and what are we told? Oh, you gotta pay all the bills and work and make sure everything's taken care of as far as financial is concerned. And we live in a day and age where they have made it increasingly difficult for that to even happen. Like, so let's just start there, for example, right? Yeah. Back in the day, back in our parents' day or grandparents' day, yeah, the guy could go out there and work and do his thing and to provide for the family, and the woman didn't have to work. Well, and then also, I mean, if you be honest, back then women couldn't work, but that's a whole nother topic for another time. But long story short, you can make it happen. It wasn't a strange thing, it
Right.
wasn't a weird thing, anything along those lines. But then things started to shift, right? We had World War II. World War II happened. That means women were working, and then when the guys came back, now it's like, okay, cool. Now both people can work, but instead of saying, because that was supposed to be a massive bonus, like, okay, we're both working and everything like that. Then everything started to change, right? I can't remember what book I was reading, but back in the day, there wasn't this massive gap between the haves and the have-nots, right? The Johnsons and the Jones were kind of, they, even if their one was doing a little bit better, it wasn't like crazy better. It wasn't like, yeah, I got a Bugatti and you're, rocking with the, Toyota Corolla, from the 80s. Like, it wasn't that, right? So, but when they recognize, okay, there's more money in the household, oh shoot, jack up the prices. Then you have inflation, and you have all these things, and then it started making it much, much, much more difficult, and for one person to hold it down by themselves. As a
Right.
matter of fact, I remember at one time when I was coming up, they were saying, oh yeah, women like want a guy that makes six figures and things like that. And now we live in a day and age, depending on where the majority of us live, six figures, you're barely making it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then someone could argue and say, oh, well, the finances, and how you manage your family, blah, 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 whatever. The fact of the matter is, it's much, much, much more expensive to live today. It's much more expensive for one person to be working today, one man to take care of everything today than it was before, right? Also, I want you to go back and do a little history lesson. Back in the day, it wasn't just one guy with the man working and the woman just staying at home taking care of kids. Back in the day in the villages and all that stuff like that, everybody worked. She was selling stuff in the market. He was going to work in there. The kids are working in the field. Like everybody was working, right? And what this whole idea of stay-at-home wife, that's actually very, very recent, right? But for a majority of history, everybody worked. Everybody put in. Women were going out and gathering berries and all that other stuff. And, the men were out there hunting saber-toothed tigers and mammoths or whatever. Like everybody was doing something. So this whole idea of the man needs to hold it down all by himself is actually fairly new. And nowadays, it's even more difficult to have because, there's so many shiny things that we want and we want to buy, and then our finances are just whatever the case may be. So, but unfortunately, because at least in the Western world, we become so materialistic. We think that provision only means one thing. And matter of fact, there are guys that do hold it down for their family, financially. But they're like, yeah, that's the top tier. That's everything. If I do that, there should be no problems. My wife should be in love with me. Their intimacy, forever, and at any time I want, and the kids should love me because they know my sacrifice, and that's why I'm not there, and all these things like that. And then unfortunately, what ends up happening is the reality hits you when you recognize that, wait a second, why is my wife always fighting with me? Doesn't she know how hard I work? Why aren't my kids close to me? What's going on? Don't they know how much time I put in? Don't they know how much I love my family and how I'm working all these double shifts and triple shifts and everything? Don't they understand how I'm doing all this for them? And, and now you're left with you're left in this gray area, this confusion, but they told me being a provider, that was it. That was the thing I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to, and I'm doing it and it's not working. I'm doing it and my wife is leaving me. I'm doing it and my kids hate me. What's going on? Well, the problem is, listen, if you can hold it down like that, great, phenomenal. Being a provider, that's part of it as well. That's not the only part. But unfortunately, that's what we focus on. We focus on that as the only part, and we miss the other parts of provision that are honestly more important. I'm not saying not to pay your bills or to live in poverty and things like that. I'm not saying that. But if you're talking about connection and relationship, yeah, there's other things that are more important when it comes to provision. And that's what we got to talk about and deal with, because you guys already know how to go out there and make money and hustle and grind. You got that already. So I tip my hat to you for that. But now we got to get the other things in order. So now not only can you have the provision for your family financially, but now you can do it emotionally. Now you can do it mentally. Now you can do it spiritually. Now you can do it in all those ways. That matters so much. Because I promise you right now, you sitting down with your 4-year-old and 5-year-old and drawing a picture and playing with toys with them and engaging with them, they value that way more than whether you make 100,000, a million, 10 million, $1 billion. That means nothing to them. That time you spend with them, that means everything. But that's what we're gonna be going in today.
I mean, that's the gist of it all, because a lot of times you misconstrue. I've done it myself personally. I've been a millionaire twice. And I thought I could buy the love and attention because that's what was taught for me. Because I came from a split home, they always saying, and even until this day, when I sit down and think about it, I've been always craving attention from the people that I love, but they couldn't give it because I always just threw money at it. Mm-hmm. So that's how I learned, right?
Yeah.
Until I got not my first 2 kids, not my first 2 daughters. If you follow along on my situation, my story, and everything else, the number one thing is the attention. And we just had this in the parent group just the other day, where it's like the most expensive thing, companies throwing money at it, anything that has a business, even as a parent, even as your boss, your manager. What do you want from a lot of people that costs much more than anything else besides time? Is undivided attention, right? Undivided. Companies are paying social media influencers, people like me, to make attention to their products, services, and actually even ourselves. But money can only get you so far. because money will take the place of what their pride and ego is because you think you're doing everything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you a short story. I have a mentor that they just came back from they go every year to the Bahamas. So somebody cut them off, and the first thing they did was puff up their chest, come out, and say, blah blah blah. All this stuff, swearing, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what's the number one thing you're supposed to do? You're supposed to turn around and protect what's important to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? First and foremost, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that even like when you take an oath to the country, what is it you're supposed to do? Protect and serve first for the things that you took an oath to provide, whether it's marriage, love, whatever. Money can come and go,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have a situation right now where money kind of gets somebody out of prison right now. Bail hearing can't get them out.
Mm-hmm.
All I can do is be present for the situation here because I've been through it so many different times,
Yeah.
right? Now, today's subject, right? When we're talking about it, right? How do we evaluate your role in your family beyond the paycheck? Doc's going to give you some insights, right? How to maintain your nervous system and stay the anchor for your household when situations arise like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And third, what's going to be a micro implementation, like how we did last week, was micro reps to gain the confidence that you have, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
very, very important. Because if you take money out of the whole situation, right? What kind of person are you for your family? Are you there? Do you right? Do you come back and you yell, you scream this, and you just throw money? It's like, I worked so hard for this money. You guys don't appreciate anything. That's not what it's all about, right? Presence, moral, teachings, deep. Doc, I'll let you go because I just was turning into Doc just now.
Man, bro, you might have to stay doc right there, man. Listen, that's an important question. You should really
Right.
ask yourself, if you couldn't provide another dime, what kind of man are you in your family?
Exactly.
If your whole existence is wrapped up in making money and thinking that's where all the value is, and if you take that away and there's nothing left,
Who
boy,
are you? What are you? Are you
man,
sovereign? That's
uh,
deep,
yeah, yeah. Oh
right?
man, yeah. So,
Because I mean,
no, go
take
ahead.
it from you. Like even when Andrew said, I had a $750,000 buried under my grandma's house. Andrew said, if you had that money, you'd be a different person. And I agree with you 100% because it doesn't have
Yeah,
no value anymore compared to what I have, to
yeah,
what I appreciate for. Not comparing it to somebody else. It's the
yeah.
man you become as a moral compass. This is why this is the shield with a compass in there that me and Doc created a while back. So you can be on that straight arrow, right? You can, people fight about money, they fight about women, they fight about power, they fight about this. What kind of man are you?
Exactly. Exactly. Also, Gordon, after this, man, if you could text me your grandmother's her address,
Oh, well, no.
I gotta do
Oh,
I
let me
got
tell you
I do
about
some
that one.
gardening over there,
Oh no, I told my uncle where it is, and he spent it. He was the man for 10 years, and then he got busted with guns, tried to blame it on me
Oh man.
while I was still incarcerated.
But all right, so we'll hop into it, guys. We'll hop
Yeah,
into it, right?
we got
So
digressed.
yeah, so we know the issue, we know the problem, and frankly, let me say this, again, if you are able to provide for your family, and take care of everything, that's a huge thing. And it is in this podcast that we're doing today, and this topic is not to take away from that because we all
Yeah,
know, let's not pretend that financial pressures aren't a real thing. Let's not pretend that it's a lot easier to go through life and it's a lot easier to engage with our family and engage in intimacy, things like that, when the finances are covered. So I am not taking that away from any man that's doing that. Again, I tip my hat to you.
applaud. Yes,
Phenomenal. This is about how can we take it to the next level for you?
yes,
How can we
yeah,
take it
yeah.
so that you can be not just a one dimensional when it comes to revision, but you can be like, I provide in all of these ways, right? And then the three areas we're going to touch on today when it comes to provision is emotional provision, mental
Nice,
provision,
nice,
spiritual provision. These
nice.
things are critical. So important. So let's first talk about the emotional provision because that's honestly probably the most important provision that there is. hands down, even more than material, right? Because emotional provision, that's how you're connecting with your wife. That's how you're connecting with your children. That's how you're building
Yeah.
relationships. And if you're not building relationships, then what is it all for? Right?
Right.
Because the thing is, we talk about the mental, they're not going to listen to what you have to say if there's no relationship, right? They're going to downplay your effort as far as making money if there's no relationship. And as far as spiritual is concerned, they're not going to really want you around if there's no connection. So this emotional aspect is critical when it comes to provision. And what I mean by emotional provision is, are you a safe place for your wife? Are you a safe place for your kids? Gordon, one of the things you said a little bit ago was, do you come home just barking and arguing and oh, why isn't this done? Why isn't that done? Or why are you guys doing this? Why are you doing? Oh, why are you coming in the house like that? Like you coming in on 10 to the point where your kids don't want to stay in the room, they don't want to be around you? To the point where your wife rolls her eyes when you come home and say, okay, here we go. Are we at that point right now? Or are you at the point where when you go home, people are excited to see you? Your kids want to show you what they drew. Your kids want to show you what they're doing in the game. They want to have a conversation with you. Your wife wants to greet you with a kiss. Like, are you at safe place for them? Can they come to you and speak and share what they're thinking and feeling, where they know that, okay, I'm here, I understand you, and I'm listening to you, I care about you? Are you that emotion? Are you providing that emotional, provision for your family? Because the thing is, if you're not, let's start with your kids first. If you're not doing that for your kids, then guess what? They're going to go somewhere else.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, they will go somewhere else.
They will.
And what's going to happen is 10 years later, you're going to be like, oh man, these kids nowadays, back in my day, oh, they don't listen. They're this, they're that. And they're all there. They listen to their friends. They don't listen to me. Well, I spent 10 years with someone when I was trying to connect, because kids try to connect. They'll hop in your lap.
Absolutely.
They'll jump in your face. So they want to play. They want to talk. Kids try to connect for years. And if you reject them for years because you're too busy, or because it's not, or you dismiss their feelings or invalidate them, then of course they're going to go somewhere else. It's no surprise. Why would I come to you, Dad? Every time I come to you, you yell at me. Every time I come to you, you tell me that what I'm dealing with is not a big deal. What I'm feeling is not important. You then talk about how I'm grateful I am because you make all this money and put a roof over my head and clothes and food and all that stuff. The basics, and I'm grateful for that. Simply because I'm disappointed because I can't go to my friend's house. Like, yeah, of course they're going to not want to connect with you. That's why you got to make sure you're in that safe space. And as far as your wife is concerned, here's the critical part. Especially if you are a guy who is providing, you are paying all the bills and everything like that, like half the battle is won already. Not all of it, but like half of it's won, right?
Just half.
That's a lot of stress that your wife doesn't have to deal with. And if she's less stressed, it's a lot easier for her to be intimate and to connect and things like that. But if you're missing this part right here, if she comes to you, she wants to talk to you, and you're not listening, or you're invalidating her, you're telling she's overreacting, making a big deal out of nothing, and then you're wondering why she's not drawn to you, you wonder why she's not attracted to you, you yell at her and things like that, you wonder why she's that's why, right? So it's so critical to be able to have that, to be able to provide emotionally, to be able to listen, to understand, and not respond. It's critical to be able to have that, even just that part right there. But Gordon, you're about to say something. Go ahead.
Oh no, absolutely. Because what do most people want, Dom? Like you say, we even for like our clientele and stuff like that, they want to be seen, they want to be valued, they want to be seen and valued, and it trickles off, like you say, to your wife, the people you work with, the coworkers. Because when you neglect somebody emotionally, psychologically, and everything else, and you shun them off, they will shut down. And same like you. If you're going home, you're working all these hours, you're working 120 hours a week, blah, 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 making all this money, and you're not appreciated, how is that going to make you feel? So vice versa with the people in your household, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you want to feel like you're providing not just stability, you're providing emotional stability for the people in your household, because there's an energy that happens around it spiritually also.
Yes.
If you cannot contain that, or you don't have a manage on yourself, guess what happens? That shit goes astray fast. Then you got arguments, resentment, high expectations, divorce rate, unaliving yourself, all that kind of crap, Captain.
Yeah.
Pressure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So when you look at yourself and you want to be able to have this type of unreactive situations in your household, so that like I'll give you a perfect example. My 4-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder where he gets his crap from.
Yeah.
It's 9 out of 10 is from me, and I have to admit that and change that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is if he's a mini me or the people around you is giving back the same energy as you, how do you like it? How do you feel about that? How does that make you even react to it, right? And that's what we're trying to get, because to be sovereign, to be a modern man, to provide, it's not just financial, guys. I'm telling you right now, I'm a stay at home. I'm Mr. Mom right now. I went from $100,000+ job, but I chose what? Sovereignty in a different way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in fact, my wife makes good money, right? Now, with this happening for the past year, I've turned my skills into something that people are lining up and telling me how to do this right now, right? And I can charge a premium. And the people I'm working in right now, they're okay with that, which is like I tell she's working, she works, she's a flight attendant. So like she's gone sometimes for 2-3 days.
Mm.
That's a lot for a man. And this is where it came humbling for me, because emotionally, spiritually, unreactive, dealing with my kids, holding it down when she had to go. I think so. She might be on social media now because she had to go tackle a unruly passenger yesterday. They strapped him down. Yes. She goes, I have to, but those are things, and she has to come home and unwind to me, and I have to be the good husband and listen, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
they want to be seen, like
Yeah.
anybody else here. You want to be heard and seen.
Mm-hmm.
And if I say I'm going to throw money at you, I provide the bills, I ain't going to do this, I'm going to do this, and you're not appreciating me, that's unfair to her, especially when I won the wife lottery.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So let me add that's our second one. How do you maintain that nervous system, Doc?
Well, I think
Oh,
going before,
yeah,
before we
before
go
we
into that, right? Before we go into that, I think it's important for the men to understand all the other forms of provision as
please,
well.
please.
So they get the clear picture. And also, as far as the emotional aspect, right? The emotional provision, Gordon, you're 100% correct. Everybody wants to be seen, heard. They want to be seen, heard, and understood, right? They want to be validated, heard, understood.
Yep.
Those are things they want. But then to what end, though? And this is the thing every person on the planet wants, is every person on the planet wants to be loved. This is how you do it.
Somehow.
That's why this is so important, because
Yes,
if
sir.
they feel loved, they will be connected to you. And then all the other stuff is going to matter so much more, right? So learning how to listen is really, really, really important. Listen to understand, not respond. No judgments, no accusations, nothing like that. You listen to understand and not respond. You yield the floor, you empathize and validate, and you summarize, confirm back to them. Even your kids, because a lot of times our kids will go through things and we'll be like, oh, that's not a big deal. That's not a big deal to you. To them, it might be the end of the world. That relationship your daughter was in for 3 days and now she's in the room crying. You're like, what? To her, that's a big deal.
The world ends.
Downplay it. Hey, daughter, hey, I'm sorry you experienced that. Hey, it's going to be okay. I got you, so on and so forth. That's going to mean so much more to her. Or your wife, you come home, your wife wants to talk about her day, oh, it was this and that. And then Jane said this and Wanda said that and da-da-da. And can you believe that? And this and that, and for you to be, oh yeah, man, that's crazy. Oh man, well, yeah, is that what happened? Like being able to engage in that conversation, because guess what? Now she's seen, like Gordon was saying. Now she feels cared for. Now she feels loved. Y'all just connected. And that emotional aspect for women is critical. It is critical. We might even have to have a podcast when we talk about the one thing that all women want, and if you get that to them, you'll be good. But y'all gotta stay tuned for that one. Keep showing back up. So that's the emotional aspect, right? But now we got the mental aspect, right? And this part's important as well. And Gordon, this is kind of like one of the biggest things like you're providing right now, even in your own family, even here for Boundaries and Brotherhood. It's the mental component, right? mental component, the mental provision. This is you having the knowledge to speak to different situations. This is you being able to figure things out and talk about things and teach things to your family based off the information that you are keen in. And
Correct.
unfortunately, a lot of us as men are not building this muscle. We'll talk about our
Mm,
experiences and things like that, but a lot of men have not read a book in a long time, and they are far, far behind. We should be constantly reading, whether it's in our area, whether it's personal development, not fiction. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like nonfiction, informational, learning about yourself, learning about business, learn about how to communicate better, learn about your man. You should be constantly, you should be the source, you should be the go-to. When your kids have a question, they go to you as dad. Your wife has a question, she goes to you. It should get to the point where it seems like you're a know-it-all. Why? Because I'm providing you, right? Because now we got the relationship, but now I'm providing you with information. So now when they're trying to indoctrinate your kids in school, guess what can't happen now? Oh, well, no, my dad said, that can't be right. That's a lie. When your wife comes across some foolish video on social media talking about how, this is how relationships supposed to go and yada, yada, whatever. Guess what? Yeah, no, I was actually reading this book, I was reading this article, yeah, that's actually not accurate. I kind of see where she's coming from. You're able to give that mental provision. You're able to teach your family and pour into them in a great way, in a way that your kids can then, do great later on in your relationship with your wife. You're her go-to. So that's that part. Really important. Read. Good information, not just any garbage online. Good information, research-backed information. Information from people who have done it and who have succeeded. Pour that into yourself so you can pour it into your loved ones and your family. And the last aspect, guys, is spiritual. Right now, whether you're believing God or not, or whatever the case may be, there's some you should be maybe some meditating. And this actually has got a great segue into our the question you were just asking. But like meditating, prayer, reading your Bible, or if you're not a Christian, whatever other religious text that you're using, that's in a pro-social way, in a helpful way to kind of teach your family. Make sure you're praying over them. You're making sure they're covered. You're doing those things, right? Again, I'm speaking from a Christian perspective, right? I don't know what everyone else does there, but making sure they're covered in prayer, making sure your kid, because when your kids hear you saying that, guess what that makes it? My dad cares about me. My dad loves me. When your wife hears you praying over her, guess what she's thinking? Man, he's caring. He cares about me. He loves me. They go out into the world and they know no matter what they're going through, I know my dad is praying for me. And I know my father, I never forget, this is something he did every single night. He was on the side of his bed, and the side of his bed was worn out. I'm talking about that thing was in. Every single night he was praying. I knew I was covered. I know today I'm still covered by those same prayers that he prayed for 21 years over me and over our family. So that spiritual component is very, very important. It cannot be lacking at all. But with these three things, and there's probably a couple others we can get into, but for the sake of time, these three, if you implement these and start doing it on a regular basis, your whole household is going to shift. The atmosphere will shift. Your life will change forever because now you're walking in real provision, full provision, where all the needs are met.
Oh, that's just so amazing. And then you compare that to my childhood, right, Doc? When you have my real father putting out an insurance plan because he wouldn't think I would make it, and then you got my real mom saying I had to worry about her other kids. Where do you think I end up, right? Like nobody's praying for me, right?
Yeah.
But you look at the two different aspects. I can laugh about it now because I broke a generational course with my family, my mini family now. Not my first two mistakes, not mistakes, but my personal mistakes that I made to not engage with the rest of my other two daughters, right?
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, as a whole, provision has to be also direction, right? And to be able to have the provision to break that generational cycle that you might have. And this is why, you see some of the videos like, some, especially like for underprivileged people, right? They only know one way. And then when
Yeah.
you can break that one way and you
Hmm.
realize it and you can provide not just emotional side, but a different way of everything and not do things that's normal,
Yeah.
things can go in the right direction morally. And all you
Yeah.
want, like Doc said, all anybody wants in their right mind, I mean, give or take the people that have issues, want to be loved and seen.
Yeah.
Even to this day, even like for me, I want to be loved by my kids. My kids want to be loved. I want to be loved by my wife. I want to be loved by my coworkers, the people I'm working with, the people that I engage with. They want the same back,
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
you provide that for them, guess what happens? You become the provider for not just monetary reasons,
Hmm.
but for a much bigger thing that money cannot buy. And I'm
Yeah.
walking proof of that shit. You know what I mean? Because yeah, you can have your cars, your things, everything that you want. But when it comes down to when like even if you're going through some health issues, you're
Yeah.
not going to care about the money because you can't buy your way out of it for a new liver
True. Yeah.
or for something or for a heart transplant. Look at Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
perfect example, right?
Yeah.
Even though, but you think about it, provision is not just fine. And get that out of your head. Now you have the dating things going on where it's like they got to be certain height, certain this. They're insecure in themselves because they want something because they want to take. People that provide will give freely until something happens where they're just going to be shut them off and you'll walk away. And
Yeah.
that's another issue. That's a whole nother segment.
That's a whole nother segment right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could definitely go off on a tangent on that one
Oh yeah,
because
don't get us going.
the whole, dating scene of like those the 6 feet, six
6
figures
food,
and a six pack,
400,000.
but and here's the I'll say this real quick and then we'll move on. Because that ties into what we'll talk about later on, but not in this one, but in another one. Um, all that stuff is security. Think
That's all
about it.
that is.
Money, height, abs, that's all security. Abs look at discipline. Oh, well, he'll keep me safe. If he can have a routine, then that means there'll be a routine there, right? If he has money, then he'll keep me safe. If he has height, then no one's gonna mess with me. Women a lot of times don't necessarily make that direct connection because if they did, then they would realize the fallacy of that. Because just because he makes 6 figures doesn't mean he's gonna take care of
He
me.
ain't gonna get it.
Because he's 6 foot, doesn't mean I'm gonna necessarily be safe. I mean, yeah, maybe some people won't mess with them, but there are people, I don't know, we can online, but obviously we live in a day and age where it don't matter how big or tall you are, you can be taken out in a heartbeat, right? And I'll just leave it at that
Believe me.
to your imagination, right? And a six-pack abs, okay, six-pack abs can go away. If he gets sick and can't eat, then what, right? And it says
Exactly.
nothing to his moral character. So, again, that's another topic for another time. Yeah, it's another topic for another time. Gordon, what was that next question, man?
Well, let me finish with it. Guys, gentlemen, if you're watching this, don't equate your bank account to your value, right?
Ah,
Don't
yeah,
equate what you make to your value as a man. Change that
yeah,
up, please. And if you need any help, you can go to boundariesandbrotherhood.com and check us out. There's like about 34 blog posts and some stuff
yeah,
that can get you there right now. But the second
perfect.
topic, the sovereign audit. It, if you success, oh no, what is it? The regulated leadership, how to maintain your nervous system and stay the anchor for your household, even during a time of stress.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, first things first. What's your self care routine look like?
Hmm.
That's my first question. Do you have a self care routine? Do you have something where you are pouring into yourself, where you are relaxing, where you are entertaining yourself, where you are building yourself up? Like that's my very first question. Because if you don't have a self care routine, or you think you just get to it whenever you get to it, yeah, you're guaranteed you're going to be dysregulated at some point in time.
Oh,
Guaranteed,
absolutely.
100%. Right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is what kind of skills do you have that are practicing to learn how to regulate your nervous system? Are you doing
Mm,
the breathing, right? Are you practicing your breathing, whether it's 3-4-7 breathing, or whether it's box breathing, or whether it's deep belly breathing, or whatever it is? Or what are you doing to regulate your nervous system? You know, are you practicing mindfulness, where you're actually tracking your thoughts and actually challenging them, and as far in your emotions, you're actually challenging them, trying to understand where they're coming from, Like, so, or do you understand what the emotions mean? Do you understand that, anxiety is not a bad thing? Anxiety is a warning signal to say, hey, are we
Right.
prepared for what's coming? Or do you understand that depression isn't sadness, but depression is, I got too much on my plate. I'm actually overwhelmed and I need to decompress, right? Do you understand what these emotions mean? Do you understand that hurt means that there's an unmet expectation, or anger is a violation and a boundary or a standard or belief? Like, if you don't understand what those are, you sit with these emotions and feelings, and then you start running wild, right? And it starts tearing up your nervous system. And this is why this is important. Before I even continue, because Gordon, like you said, you were talking about how we're in the home, right? The men are in the home. You understand, like, the temperature of the home is based off of how the man regulates.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's based, because we're the leaders, right? It's based
100%.
off
Yep.
the man, not the woman, the man, right? So it's critical for us to be able to make sure we can regulate ourselves at all times, that we know how to make sure that we can use our skills and we're practicing them, right? So are you doing meditation, right? Are you taking time? Because here's another thing, as far as meditation is concerned. I know, maybe, I don't know if you grew up like I grew up in the 80s and things like that, in the 90s, where we started watching like kung fu movies, and then you see the person meditating, like, sitting somewhere, you know,
I'm Asian.
it can be that, don't get me wrong, but what we're talking about now is taking time to really understand your body, in the sense of I'm stopping, my eyes are closed, I'm aware of every single thing in my body. I can feel every muscle, I can feel I can feel my heart beating at times. Like, that's the level we're talking about. And the reason why this is important, because we're talking about nervous system regulation. How can you regulate what you don't know?
Exactly.
If you are not familiar with your nervous system, if you're not familiar with your body, then there's no way you'll be able to regulate it, because you're not going to know when things are going to be off. And I was in that space at one point in time. But then when I started breathing, when I started meditating, when I started, doing progressive muscle relaxation, when I started doing these things, guess what happened? Now I know my body. So now I know, okay, I'm in this argument, in this conversation. I feel myself rising up, right?
Triggers.
Because my heart rate's starting to increase,
Right.
and I'm starting to like clench my fist or clench my jaw or something along those lines. But because I am aware of even the tiniest fluctuation within my body, I can now regulate myself and keep from going off the deep end.
Right.
When my kids don't do something they're supposed to do, instead of me just, I did not tell you, and you better, and instead of doing all that, I stop. Okay, hold on, slow down. All right, was I clear? Did I set the standard? What did I do? Maybe they didn't hear me, whatever. And then I deal with it appropriately. And then guess what happens? I get compliance. I get better answers. I get more honesty. So this emotional regulation is critical. But in order to do it, you got to practice the skills. If you don't practice the skills, it's not going to work. Like, you could say, oh yeah, all that, right? But you got to practice. You got to practice the breathing. You got to practice the progressive muscle relaxation. You got to practice the meditation, because you want to make sure you're in control at all times. You want to take time learning about emotional intelligence and understand what emotions mean. And if you need help with that, you can go to my website. You can get yourself a free copy of an emotional wheel that actually tells you what 20 different emotions and what they mean. And then if you need any more after that, we can talk, not more emotions, but if you want more details about that, you can reach out to us and let us know. But
no, absolutely.
That's the importance of regulating your nervous system as being a provider, right? And also how you can do it.
I mean, I just wanted to give, absolutely. And if you need help, I got my brother right here, Michael Torres Jaime from World Conscious Changes, CEO, director, and creator for NLP situations. He has another course also, but I just wanted to say, we Doc therapeutic side, myself and Doc together coaching for. We also have an app coming out. I want to tell you that, and it's got breathing exercises on there that I really made the foundation. But guys, you got to understanding your emotional nervous system, how it controls the rest of your body and the energy coming out of it is a big thing. Because if you flash off and speak, take it from me, from having hours of anger management, because I only have two things, happy and anger at one point. Now there was no in between before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But understanding that I do have all these emotions and I've regulated them and I know what they're thinking, they're doing to me. like Doc said, the anxiety, the worry, the expressions, the self meditating and stuff like that, working out, controlling that nervous system so you don't have those jitters. It's almost like those muscles fluctuating when you're doing something with high rep, when that muscle starts moving. You got to understand this. And it's the same muscle in your nervous system. It does the same exact thing, only thing on a frequency level, maybe, or a spiritual level, right? So you got to understand that once you know how to control that, you want, again, another part of the battle of becoming a sovereign man, right? Because you control that emotional regulation. You could providing the moral compass, not just financial regulation for your family. And you're not putting it at the top of your list. Who's going to benefit besides you? The rest of the people you come in contact with.
Everybody else.
Everybody else. Whoever you touch is in the right way. Whoever you're coaching, whoever you're teaching, whoever you're doing it right will gravitate you to build a relationship that you can be proud of, because at the end of the day, you can pour into others. More than you pour into yourself by reading, by gathering information to pour into others. And guess what happens? You fill your cup to give to others. Right? Man, I'm getting deep today, Doc. It's kind of serious, but guys, I just wanted to say, if you're watching, if you need this message here if you're on TikTok, IG, Facebook, YouTube, and all of this going on, share it with somebody that needs to hear this. Because the people that you're watching this right now, you probably know somebody that does need some of this advice or coaching or mentoring, or at least small snippets. Leave us a comment. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, if the workflow is right, you can hit the word silent and a PDF will go straight to you in your messaging. I hope it works. It should be triggered off. But Doc, how do you do? Last week we did a workshop. Just to let you guys know, every end of the month we do a free workshop on pillars to become a sovereign life. We did one on confidence last week. Go look at it. We talked about micro reps for gaining confidence. How do we do micro rep implementation, actionable steps to transition from just the earning to leading with purpose?
So first and foremost, I just want to give a shout out to Mika and Adrian in the comments. Adrian, it's very true.
Oh, here we go. Oh, there you go.
It's definitely more than just being a financial provider, like like we were saying. So how to implement it, right? What are the micro? I'm a big fan of micro execution, the small things that we can see, right? If you never read the book Atomic Habits, again, mental provision. If you never read that book, strongly recommend you read that book. And I'm telling you that I don't make any money off of that. I'm just telling you that book, if you're trying to get things done, if you're trying to break bad habits and build new ones, that book is out. It's incredible. It's incredible, right? So long story short, so you're looking for the micro moments to really start being a provider in these ways, right? So the first one is just honestly learning how to listen. It's that simple, right? Learning how to listen and listen to understand and not respond. All right, let me break this down a little bit, right? Because a lot of times you think, well, because I'm the father, I'm the husband, I got to say something and da-da-da-da-da. No, you don't. Your role does not necessarily mean you have to say something, right? It does not necessarily mean that, not right out the gate, right? Your first thing as a leader, your main thing is to understand the people that you are leading. If you are not listening to understand, if you're only listening to respond, then how in the world can you lead the people that you're supposed to be leading? Because you don't even know what their needs are. You don't know how to develop them. You don't know where they're falling short. And a lot of times they're trying to tell you, but you don't want to listen because you think you know it all. Right? You got to listen. Practice listening. For Siri, and so as far as micro reps, in any conversation, not just with problems, but any conversation, focus on listening first and asking questions. That's the micro rep I want you to take away from this part right here. Listen and just ask questions. Your kids start telling you about the day. Oh, shoot, little Johnny, threw a paper airplane, but yours flew further. How'd you make that paper airplane? Like, how did you make it fly further? Oh, Susie, she was talking to some boy and you told her not to, and she still did it anyways and got in trouble. Well, shoot, how'd that make you feel? Or wife comes home, hey, honey, we haven't really spent time together, yada yada, whatever. Oh, babe, what? Tell me more about that. You're right. It's been really busy, but what's going on with you? Like, what's that making you feel? Like, that's going to take you really, really, really far. And as us as men, because we as men like to fix things, we do. We like to tell me what the problem is. Let me fix it, because if I fix it, it'll make you feel better.
Yeah, I had to learn down to stop fixing stuff.
Yeah. So, but how can you fix what you don't understand?
From their point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So think about it, right?
Yep.
Right. If for me to fix something, I have to understand what that thing, all the mechanics behind it, because it may look a certain way, but it may not be that way. So it's critical to listen. I used to tell the men I worked with, and the couples that I work with, that you should ask the question before you start a conversation. Do you want me to listen, or do you want me to try to help you fix it? I stopped doing that altogether. Listen. If you get to the end and they want a solution, they're going to ask you. You don't even have to prompt that out of them. Just listen to them, hear them out. If they want help, they're going to get what they're going to say. What do you think about that? Babe, what do you think I should do? Hey, Dad, trying out for the football team, XYZ 1, 2, 3. Hey, Dad, what do you think? What can I do to get better? But if you just hop on and just, you need to do this, and well, stop doing that. Like, if it's causing all this problem, that wasn't the problem. And especially, for women as well. More often than not, women just want to be heard. They just want you to make sure that you care. Again, that emotional provision. That's what they want more than anything else. So if you just take the time and listen and ask questions, and, that little micro reps, doing that in all conversations, learning to listen and, and empathize and things like that, that's going to take you really, really, really far.
Right.
As far as micro reps for like the mental provision, just at the very least 10 minutes a day. The very least.
Okay.
Right. Or if you're in the car driving to work, right? Or if you're going on walks in the morning, or if you're getting ready in the morning and you want to put a podcast or a book on, but just at the very least 10 minutes a day of taking in some new information. Yeah, because that compounds over time. You might think 10 minutes a day, that's nothing. Yeah. Well, that's 70 minutes in a week.
Oh, that's
200 anywhere from like 200 to 280 to 310 minutes a month. You compound that over time, over and over, and you keep doing this with different material. Before it's all said and done, you're gonna be a freaking guru and everything. And your wife's gonna be like, dang, how do you know so much? Well, shoot, I just be doing 10 minutes a day of reading, right? And then the same thing, honestly, with the spirituality, right? Take some time to pray. You don't have to do a whole altar call, prayer meeting. Let's get down there and roll on the floor and speak in tongues for prayer. Like, we don't have to do all of that, right? Put your hands on your wife's shoulder or hold her hands or something like that. Then just say a quick prayer. God, I pray you'll bless my wife. I thank you for her. Please keep your hand upon her. Forgive her for her sins. Save her. Just real quick, take less than a minute.
Small things.
It's small things, right?
Small things.
Reading your Bible, right? Just start with the chapter. Oh, well, I got to read, 5 chapters. No, you don't. Start with the chapter. If that's too long, just open it up, find a book, read five verses, right? Because guess what? If you do this consistently, any of these things we're talking about and all these things, you do it consistently, before it's all said and done, man, you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of everybody. Because guess what? If you're doing that little bit consistently and no one else is doing it, but then by default, you're going to be ahead. By default. And again, none of this stuff will take an extensive period amount of time. That's why it's micro reps. It's small. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. It's not a lot. So do those things, right? And continuously do them. Right, the listening, the getting the information in you, the covering your family in prayer and studying the Bible, things like that. Do that. That on a regular basis and watch how your life changes.
The whole thing about this last segment of it was doing a micro reps. It's like working out, guys. If you do something small enough, you can keep adding the weight. It's the same thing
Yes.
like learning a new language using AI. It's learning if you're using in the AI space, you're learning basically a new language. And the people that are worried about the AI or something like that is not learning the new language, they're going to be left behind. So if you learn 5 minutes a day, one prompt a day, that's just an example. If you're learning your child 5 minutes a day, giving attention to
Mhm.
them, everything, guess what happens? They connect with you. Same with
Yep.
your wife. You mean it's
Yep.
not all about that financial provision, like we said in the
Yep.
beginning,
Yep.
because the financial provision, when the shit hits the fan, the money ain't going to work no more.
Doesn't.
You right? It's
Doesn't.
going to be the communication, the expectations, and the loyalty and the honesty that's going to make it worth its while,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
the openness, right?
Yeah. And I'll say this real quick, Gordon, as well. As a couples therapist, right, as well as a men's therapist, as a couples therapist, you know, I've yet to see a couple come in, and I've worked with some wealthy people. I've
Right.
yet to see them come in and say, you know what, we don't have problems because we have a lot of money. I
No.
have yet to see that. I've yet to see it. I have no one has come in or said on the phone, you know what? Hey, we don't have any problems because we got a lot of money. What do they come in and say? Yeah, we got a lot of money, but the relationship sucks.
Sucks.
I don't
Yep,
feel loved.
everything
We're in a
sucks.
sexless marriage. My kids don't like me. We're on the verge of divorce. Like that's what I hear. So what I'm really hearing is the financial provision, while it's appreciated, it is not enough. It's not
It's not.
enough for the relationship. It's not enough for connection. It's not enough for growth. It's not enough for point. It's not enough. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Well,
You know,
I'm gonna say when I had my office looking over Waikiki on the 60th floor, top of the world, everything physically doing everything, I wasn't happy. I'm
mm-hmm.
happy not right now being a stay-at-home dad, playing around with my kids, letting them do a slip and slide in the house with a swing in the house. But throwing chairs on around, do I yell? Do I lose my shit sometimes? Of course I do. But at the same time, I let them have a childhood because they're going to remember this for the
Yeah,
rest of their life, and they're going to have the confidence to be themselves. And that's what we want for you, because you could be a professional work. You could be a Fortune 500 company CEO owner, can't talk to your wife or kids at home. And we see a lot of those. If you're one of those people, reach out to Boundaries and Brotherhood. If
yeah,
you look at us up all over, we're all over the place right now. And it's going to be really amazing to see the transformation, because we want you to be seen from your family. We want you to be seen from your kids. We want you to be valued for the man you are, not the
mm-hmm.
man that you think everybody else should be.
Yeah,
Because you could have 5 million followers on your line, but they won't help you when you need it the most, and then you just shut down.
yeah.
And it happens a lot, right?
Yes, it does.
Doc. So let's
Yes,
recap. The sovereign provider provides much more than financial ability, right?
that's correct.
The sovereign provider gives moral direction besides all of that stuff, and
Yeah,
gives clear direction to what you got emotionally without knowing those micro reps in that situation. And the sovereign provider breaks the cycle of what they had in the past, right?
yes, yeah. The sovereign provider is the one that's providing not just financially, but also emotionally,
Correct.
mentally, and spiritually, right? They're showing up, they're connecting with their family. They're a safe place to go to, right? And especially men of you who have daughters, I got to put this out there. If you have a daughter, right? If you don't want her marrying a bum, if you don't want her being taken advantage of, if you don't want her being, hurt or heartbroken, things like that. Again, just like it's important for your wife, it's important for your daughter for you to be that safe space, because then now you become the template for what she's looking out there in the world. So when you see these guys that have no substance and they want to throw all these, nowadays the new game is mental health terms, right? Oh, babe, you're mental. How's your mental? Like all that
Yep.
garbage, right? They got no substance. The man ain't got no job. That man got 5 baby mamas. The man, ain't trying to do nothing, right? Now you don't got to worry about your baby girl being taken advantage of, because she's like, well, I know what a real man is. my dad, he listens to me. He doesn't just make money, but he listens to me. He cares about me. He builds me up. He pours into me. I don't see any of that in you. So I'm sorry. So you can kick rocks. You can take, mental health, or you could take, your mental, you could take all that down the road somewhere, because I got what's real over here. So this is critical, right? And additionally, obviously your sons see what it is to be like a real man, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that part, that emotional aspect, it's so important. If you want to imprint on your children, you have to get that part in, the emotional aspect, right? The mental aspect, we talked about that, making sure that you are pouring into yourself so you could be a resource to your family, to your children, to your wife, right? And the spiritual aspect, same thing, right? You want to make sure you're getting in with God, you're studying, you're praying over them, you're teaching them on a regular basis, and that you're doing all the micro moments that we talked about. You're doing all those on a regular basis so you can be that real, true, sovereign provider. That's what you want to be.
Beautiful. Guys, if you take anything, watch last week's workshop about confidence, share this with somebody that you comment below, subscribe, go over to boundariesandbrotherhood.com, work with Doc if you need professional help, and we'll see you next week, guys.
What,
We'll see you next week. Oh,
Paul,
go ahead.
we'll have to
Oh, here you go. You're
listen.
back. Oh,
Yeah,
wait. What is this? What is it? Paul
yeah.
Rosenbach, you're back. Is it? I should be. Is it? Of course there is. You talk to him.
Well, I'll get with you, Paul. I'll get with you, man. I apologize. Listen, you've
Absolutely.
been on my mind for a while. I promise I didn't forget about you. I'm gonna get with you, man. Things have been crazy, but I will get back with you, man.
Absolutely. We always looking for guests.
But you all take care. Have a great,
Yes,
awesome, and
sir.
blessed day. Yeah, and that's it. We'll see y'all later.
We'll see you guys next week. Oh, tomorrow, me and Carrie show identity coach and everything else and relationship coach. We'll see you next week. Bye. Boop. End show. Boop.